What's up my bro, Tundrum here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be showing you my updated Yawgmoth Thran Phycian CEDH deck tech. Now a few months back I did a deck tech on this list, and since then I've made a ton of upgrades. It is definitely slightly more expensive than it used to be, and almost twice the price, but the deck is a lot more competitive now. I'd say it's in the middle, maybe even high, or probably not quite high power of CEDH. Normally comboing off by turn 4, often even turn 3, or if you're lucky, turn 2. Yeah, it's just an all-round great deck, fun to pilot, and yeah, just solid deck. Shout out to TheGodofNight for giving me a bit of help on this deck. He gave me a really nice list, which I got a bit of inspiration from and found out a few new OP cards. So, this video is going to be split into 4 sections: the combo pieces section, the card draw and tutors section, the interaction and protection section, and the utility and ramp section, and the mana base, which is pretty simple for a monocolour deck. So, without further ado, let's get into the list by looking at the commander, Yawgmoth Thran Phycian. Yawgmoth Thran Phycian, he's a 4-mana 2/4 legendary creature human cleric with protection from humans. Then, this is the main reason he's OP. We can pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, and put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature and draw a card. This ability is really solid, and you will soon see it has so much combo potential. And then you can pay 2 mana and discard a card to proliferate, which also has some nice synergies out there, especially with all his -1/-1 counters. And yeah, that's the commander. So I'm pretty much going to quickly explain how the combo works. Okay, so before I get into section 1, I'm just going to explain how the combo works. So I'll move these to the side. So what you do is you need your Yawgmoth in play, and you want 2 undying creatures. We'll use Evernight Shade and Butcher Ghoul as an example. So, what you want to do is you've got these 3 in play, right? You've got Yawgmoth, and so what you do is Undying reads, when this creature dies, if it had no +1/+1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. That's pretty much all we need. So what we do is we'll pay life, sack the creature, comes back with a +1/+1 counter, and then because this trigger all happens at the same time, we'll then put a -1/-1 counter on Evernight Shade. So then we'll sack the Evernight Shade, or whatever our second Undying creature, comes back, had no +1/+1, so it comes back with a +1/+1, and then with Yawgmoth's ability, we put the -1/-1 on the other creature with the +1/+1. Now his counter goes away. Then you rinse and repeat, removing the counter, infinitely looping to draw as many cards as you want, and put any number of -1/-1 counters and stuff in infinite ETBs for as long as you have a life. You might say this isn't too powerful. Yes, it's not. It's not an insta one, but it's very powerful. But then if you throw in a card like Zalaport Cutthroat or Ayara First of Lockwave or Blood Artist, cards like that, you immediately suddenly have infinite damage and infinite card draw to your opponents. So you can essentially deal like 80 damage to your opponents, which is an insta-win, and draw your whole deck out, which will then let you combo off better, etc, etc, immediately winning. And so yeah, that's the base combo. We also have other combo cards, which I'll get to later on. And so yeah, basically with Yawgmoth, you've got 2 Undyers, or an Undyer and a Nest of Scarabs, and then you can just go boom, 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 drain your opponents out of you like a Blood Artist type card. Very easy to assemble 3-card combo. It may seem difficult, but the amount of cards there's a lot of Blood Artist type cards, around 5 or 6 we're running. It's around 10 or so Undying / Nest of Scarab cards, and our commander we always have access to. So this combo is really easy to get off, and even like just Yawgmoth and Nest of Scarabs, that's just kind of an auto win in most games. And yeah, the good thing about all these pieces as well, all our Undyers, they essentially have 2 lives, so they're much harder to deal with. And we can also, if we need cards, we can sack them and we still have them to pick up cards, so they can also replace themselves very easily with Yawgmoth. So, without further ado, let's get into section 1, combo pieces. First up we have Death Greeter. Death Greeter is a nice card. It lets us combo off with the Undyers much easier. It says whenever another creature is put into our graveyard from play, we may gain 1 life, 1 mana, 1/1. This is solid. It lets us keep our infinite combo going without needing to lose life, and is a nice combo piece. Blood Artist, 2 mana 0/1, when it or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and we gain 1 life. Once again, one of those combo pieces, so we don't have to pay life for our combos, and it lets us drain all our opponents out, instantly winning the game. Next up, we're running Treacherous Pit Dweller. 2 mana 4/3 Undying, but when it enters from a graveyard, target opponent gains control of it. This doesn't really matter because we do the combo infinitely anyway on the stack, so we'll just sack it in response, put the counter, all in response to that trigger, so we'll still go infinite and that ability doesn't matter. So a 2 mana 4/3 Undire, very nice for our combo. Zulaport Cutthroat, pretty much the same as Blood Artist, except it's only creatures we control, but it says each opponent loses 1 life. Pretty solid card, helps our combo go off, and drain all our opponents out. Ayara, First of Lockwave. She's a 3 mana 2/3. She can tap and sack another black creature to draw a card. We're never going to use this considering we have Yawgmoth. He just does the same thing but for so much better. But the main ability is when she or another black creature enters the battlefield under our control, each opponent loses 1 life and we gain 1 life. So this lets our infinite ETB combo instantly drain all our opponents out and make it so we don't lose any life as well. Giraffe's Messenger. 3 mana, 3/2, creature zombie, Undying, and when it enters, target opponent loses 2 life. So we can often, if we have enough life, we can often, we don't actually need one of the Blood Artist type cards, because the Giraffe's Messenger 2 life, and when we only have to pay 1, is letting us gain life in the end. And we do get to draw a whole deck out, so we might do this. It's much easier with this combo to actually get to your last combo pieces, because you only need the Undires. You can then draw 10, 15, 20 cards, and then you can play your Blood Artist type card, because you're 90% going to draw one out of the amount of cards you can draw, and then combo off. Demon Lord of Ashmouth. He's a 4 mana 5/4 demon, flying, and when it enters the battlefield, exile it unless we sacrifice another creature. Once again, we can just combo off in response to this trigger, so that's not that big of a deal. Nice Undire. It is 4 mana, quite steep, but it is still worth the include. Sightless Skull, 4 mana 2/2. It can't block, but it does have Undying. Very solid. Well, not very solid. It's not a very good card, but for the combo deck, it is just worth the include. Vindictive Vampire. Another Blood Artist type card. It's a bit steep, but it does still help us combo off. It's still a nice include, because the more of the combo cards we have, the easier and earlier we can combo off. And finally, for the combo creatures, we have my Chaos the Unhallowed. It's a 6 mana 5/5 legendary creature zombie cleric with Intimidate. Whenever a human hits us, destroy it, and all our other non-humans get 1/1 and have Undying. So we just need my Chaos and a few other creatures, and then we can do the Yawgmoth combo very easily. Just go off infinite. He's very powerful by himself as well. He's just an all-round great card. He goes in most commander decks. He's very good for combos. He is like $20, but he is still definitely worth the include. And then finally in the combo section, we have Bastion of Remembrance. Bastion of Remembrance is a 3 mana enchantment. When it enters, we get a 1/1 white human soldier. So this will let us, if we just have Nest of Scarabs, because you do need a creature to begin with just Yawgmoth and Nest of Scarabs combo to sack something to Yawgmoth. With Nest of Scarabs, this gives us a nice body to sack to that. It also, if we don't, essentially lets us draw a card, replacing itself with Yawgmoth. And it has, whenever a creature we control dies, each opponent loses 1 and we gain 1. So yet again, another one of those nice effects to help us combo off and kill them instantly. Oh, also, I forgot to mention Nest of Scarabs. It just went under my radar because I was thinking, oh yeah, Nest of Scarabs, auto-include, yeah, real good. But no, this is the best combo card in the deck. 3 mana enchantment. Whenever you put 1 or more -1/-1 counters on a creature, create that many 1/1 black insect creature tokens. So Nest of Scarabs, just with Yawgmoth, it essentially says pay 1 life, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. If you can, draw a card. So we can just suddenly go brrr, kill all it, just with this in Yawgmoth, kill all our opponent's creatures. If they have enough toughness out of creatures for us to do this enough to drain them out with a Blood Artist card, we can just win on the spot like that. Lets us draw tons of cards. And yeah, Nest of Scarabs plus Yawgmoth is just kind of a game-winning combo. Normally, our deal curve is kind of turn 1, Mana Rock interaction, hand look. Turn 2, either tutor for Nest of Scarabs or play a Mana Rock or anything. This is like, I'm not being unrealistic, I'm not saying ideal turn 1 Mana Crypt, like you have much better plays than this, but this is an average good curve. Turn 2, tutor for Nest of Scarabs. Turn 3, Play Nest of Scribes, turn 4, play Yawgmoth, kill their board, draw half your deck out, and then win. But that's an average curve, but that's normally what you're going to try and do. Nest of Scribes is so powerful. Now we're on to section 2, tutors and card draw. Now tutors, they're essential in this deck, help us tutor for our combo pieces much earlier, like I said, and yeah, they're definitely worth the include. So first up in this section, we have Bloodghast. Now this isn't really technically card draw, but we're mainly just running it for the card draw. So what we do, 2 mana, 2/1, we can then sack it to Yawgmoth, play a land, it comes back, and then sack it again. And every turn we play a land and sack it, so this essentially says, every turn we draw an extra card and put a -1/-1 counter on something. Nice little engine, can also get in for a bit of damage. Pretty solid card. Next up we have Ophiomancer. 3 mana 2/2, creature human shaman, and then at the beginning of each upkeep, if you control no stakes, create a 1/1 black snake creature token with Death Touch. Now this is really solid. Number one, it gets us 1/1 Death Touch all the time, but it's really card draw because every time we sack the snake, next upkeep get one, sack it, next upkeep get one, sack it, next upkeep get one, and then boom boom boom, we're drawing a card every turn and putting a -1/-1 counter on something. This is super solid, lets us sit for a deck so quickly and combo off so easily. Next up we have Sengor Autocrat. It's a 4 mana 2/2, and when it enters we get to create 3 0/1 black serfs, but when it leaves play, exile all serfs. So we essentially play this, sack it to Yawgmoth, and then sack all the bodies to Yawgmoth, get 3 cards, then sack the Autocrat. This is essentially 4 mana, 4 cards, puts 4 -1/-1 counters on stuff, we can then proliferate them down, and yeah, super solid. And the final creature I would really class as card draw is Ogre Slumlord. 5 mana 3/3, gives all our rats Death Touch, and whenever another non-token creature dies, we get a 1/1 black rat. So whenever we're sacking other stuff, we get an extra body, which we can then sack again to get more value in card draw. Very solid card, definitely with the include. It is a bit hefty at 5 mana, but it is so powerful. Entomb, very good card, 1 mana, searches our library for a card, puts that card into our graveyard. So this is really nice because we have a lot of graveyard resurrection. We play this, can often do it at the end step, bluffing we have something else, and then next turn resurrect that card from the graveyard to a hand. So it essentially becomes a 1 mana kind of tutor. Very solid card. Next up we have Reanimate. I wasn't really going to put any of the reanimation in this section, but I don't know. I think it does go into it. Yeah, I reckon it's kind of like a tutor type card because we're searching for a graveyard a lot, milling ourselves into the graveyard a lot, and then we get a resurrect. So I am going to class these cards in this section. 1 mana, it puts target creature card from any graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, but we do lose life equal to its CMC. That lose life, it's essentially like Swords to Plowshare, such a minor downside, and it's such an OP card. Resurrecting anything from any graveyard for 1 mana is just absolutely ridiculous rate. We'll often get one of our OP cards back, combo off, for a mere 1 mana. If your enemies has a massive threat in the graveyard, let's say 10 drop, bring it back, have a huge threat on the body. This is if it's late game and you haven't comboed off yet and it's more of a casual game, you know what I'm saying? And we do lose a bit of life, but that's not very much, especially considering all our death life gain, etc. And yeah, it's just so insane. You need to run Reanimate. Next up we have Unearth. 1 mana, returns any creature with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is really nice. Most of our deck, around 3/4 of our creatures, are CMC 3 or less. So this is essentially 1 mana, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it also is cycling, so if we don't really need it, we can also cycle it out to help sift for our deck easier and get to our combo pieces. Coming up next, we're running Vampiric Tutor. 1 mana instant, and it searches our library for any card, puts it on top of our library, and we lose 2 life. Very solid. We play this on turn 1, get one of our combo pieces like Butcher Ghoul next turn, or Blood Artist, or we could get one of our insane value cards later on, like My Chaos or Nest of Scribes, combo off instantly. Archfiend of Ifnir, go bull bite them. Vampiric Tutor, best tutor in the game. It is like $100 right now, one of the most expensive cards in the deck, but it's just so solid you should probably be running it. Next up we're running Demonic Tutor. 2 mana, searches our library for any card and puts it into our hand. Very nice. Not quite as good as Vampiric Tutor. Oh, there's a debate actually here. But no, Demonic Tutor, 2 mana for a tutor, just so powerful. Essential include. Night's Whisper, 2 mana sorcery, we get to pick up 2 cards and we do lose 2 life. 2 mana to draw 2 is such a solid rate, it's probably worth the include. Sign and Blood, essentially the same as Night's Whisper, except it costs double black, but it can choose any target player, so you can maybe help out a friend, help finish off the last few points of their life, or most of the time we'll just be drawing cards off this. Nice little way to sift through our deck. Stitched Together, 2 mana sorcery, returns target creature card from our graveyard to our hand. Not very good. This can help us get our tutors back if need be, but the main reason is if we have Threshold, which is if we have 7 or more cards in our graveyard, which with all of our 1 mana sorceries and all our mill and all our sack, is quite easy to do, it just returns the card straight to the battlefield. This is really solid, definitely worth the include. Buried Alive, 3 mana searches our library for up to 3 creature cards and puts them into our graveyard. We'll just search up for 3 cards we need in our graveyard, like let's say a board wipe, a combo piece, and card draw engine, something like that. Then we can resurrect them back with our graveyard resurrection and combo off. Insane card. This card's so underrated, it's only like $1 right now, so it's definitely worth the include. Pick these up while they're still cheap, because one day someone's going to break it. It's just such a solid card. Next up, we've got Grim Tutor. Grim Tutor's was $200, but luckily it just got reprinted in M2021, and it's down to just over 20 right now, and I suspect it will still drop, so it is worth picking up to chuck in the deck. It's not the best. 3 mana to search our library for a card, plus, and put it into a hand, plus we lose a life is not the best, but it's still strictly better than cards like Demonic Tutor and Razorketh's Right, so it is worth the include. Yawgmoth's Will, once again, it's a graveyard resurrection, probably doesn't go into this section, but really it kind of works like that in our deck, so I'm just going to throw it in there. Yawgmoth's Will is the most expensive card in the deck. It's only ever been printed once, and it's on the reserve list now, but it is also one of the best cards in the game. 3 mana, until end of turn we may play any cards in our graveyard as if they were in our hand, and cards put into our graveyard this turn are removed and set. So this suddenly just essentially returns our graveyard to our hand until end of turn. We can then play like ritual spells, exile cards from our hand, and play things like Unmask to move out our opponents, get all our combos back, play them out. Yawgmoth's Will is just so powerful, especially in this deck, definitely worth the include, if you can afford to pick it up. And next up we have Final Parting, 5 mana sorcery, searches our library. It is really pricey, but it searches for 2 cards, gets one straight into our hand, and the other does go into the graveyard. So normally, if we don't have our combo pieces, search up for 2 combo pieces, and combo off next turn, or we could search up for Graveyard Resurrection and put a good card into our graveyard, then resurrect all our graveyard and play that out. It's a very solid card, generates a lot of value. 5 mana is hefty, but I think it is worth the include. Next up we have Skullclamp, 1 mana equipment. It's an essential include in most CEDH decks, made even better in ours because we equip it to a creature and for 1 mana and then sack the creature to Yawgmoth and then we get 3 cards off that creature. So insane. Yeah, I can't even say how good this card is in this deck. It's like really good in token decks, but it's probably even better here. Just such a solid card, definitely worth the include. Next up we have Genesis Chamber, which should have actually been in the last section. I'm stuffing up a lot in this video, sorry. Which is whenever another non-token creature ETB is under our control, we get a 1/1 colorless Myr artifact token. This once again combos off of our combos, gets us infinite bodies, and makes our infinite combo much easier and much more effective to do. Very solid card. Just forgot to add it to the last section, and yeah, sorry about that. Next up, we're running Perpetual Timepiece, 2 mana artifact, tap it to put the top 2 cards of our library into our graveyard, which is nice, helps us mill out our graveyard, fill up our graveyard a lot, really get it filled up, dig for our combos. And the main reason we're running it is for, as well as this nice artifact, we can pay 2 mana and exile it to shuffle essentially our graveyard into our library, any number of cards. So with Yawgmoth, the one weakness in the combo is that your library is actually limited, so you have to draw a card every time. So if your opponents have hundreds of life, you actually can't always survive the combo, and your deck might get low and they might counter the combo, and you might be in a bit of trouble. So with Perpetual Timepiece, we can then play it and reshuffle our whole library back into our deck. So if a bad situation like that does happen to come by, we're all good to go. And the fact that it has that nice mill effect is just an added bonus. Next up we have Animate Dead, very solid enchantment. For essentially 2 mana, it returns anything from our graveyard to play with just a mere -1 power. This doesn't really matter. Very solid card, 2 mana Graveyard Resurrection, definitely worth the include. Dreadhorde Invasion, 2 mana enchantment. At the beginning of our upkeep, we lose 1 life and amass 1, and whenever a zombie token with power 6 or greater attacks under our control, it gains lifelink until end of turn. Pretty much, this is essentially, at the beginning of it's essentially Phyrexian Arena, really, in our deck, except for 1 less, because we get a body, and then we'll sack it to Yawgmoth, draw a card, put a -1/-1 counter on something. Very solid. Sometimes we can just let the bodies build up, make it into a big evasive attacker. Dreadhorde Invasion offers a lot of versatility and is an all-round great card in our deck. And finally in this section we have Necropotence. 3 mana enchantment, we are forced to skip our draw step, and whenever we discard a card, exile that card from our graveyard. But we can pay 1 life, exile the top card of our library face down, and put that card into our hand at the beginning of the next end step. So this is kind of 3 mana, draw a card, 3 mana enchantment, pay 1 life, draw a card. It's not quite that strong because we have to wait till our end step, and we don't know what it is until then. And so we can't just go draw until we get something. We just kind of have to take a gamble. Right, I'm going to draw 10 here. Hopefully we'll hit our thing. If not, we'll draw another 10. You know what I'm saying? But it is still definitely worth the include. Helps us get to our combos so quickly. Very solid card. Now we're on to section 3, protection and interaction. So, protection and interaction, you're going to need interaction cards to stop our enemies from comboing off. Even just 1 or 2 removal or reveal hand, discard a card from it type cards, are just in a CEDH game can make the difference between winning or losing. Yeah, you definitely need lots of interaction and more competitive EDH. Regular EDH, it's also essential, but it is even more essential in competitive EDH. So first up, we've got Fatal Push. 1 mana instant, destroys target creature with CMC 2 or less. Or if we have Revolt, which is easy to do with Yawgmoth, destroy that creature if it has CMC 4 or less. Normally CEDH, most creatures are very small mana cost anyway, so this is often just 1 mana, destroy target creature. Very solid card. Inquisition of Kozilek. Target player reveals his or her hand for 1 mana. We choose a non-lane card from it with CMC 3 or less, and they discard that card. This card, very solid. Like I said, most cards are relatively cheap, never really having anything more than 5 or 6 mana. So this will discard most early game threats, most things that interact with us. Most early game threats that will help them combo off, or any like ramp. Just a very solid card. Next up we have Thoughtseize. 1 mana, target player reveals his or her hand, we choose any non-lane card from it, and they discard it. We do lose 2 life off this, that doesn't matter. Thoughtseize is the best hand discard spell ever printed. It's so powerful, completely shuts down an opponent's plans, lets you know what they're doing, and yeah, just an all-round great card. Next up we have Vendetta. 1 mana, destroys target non-black, which isn't the best, but most... well, 4/5 of cards are not, no, actually a bit more than that, because you've got, like, colourless as well. But most cards are non-black, so it is worth the slight risk of it not being able to destroy something. For a 1 mana instant, very solid. We do lose life equal to that creature's toughness, but that doesn't really matter so much. All-round great card. Next up we have Malicious Affliction. 2 mana, destroys target non-black creature. Once again, it only destroys non-blacks, but if we hit a creature who died this turn, we get to copy this spell. So 2 mana to destroy 2 non-black creatures is very easy. With Yawgmoth to sack and get Morbid online is so solid. This is definitely worth the include. Very solid removal spell. Next up we have Sickening Shoal. X and double black for an instant. And it gives target creature -X until end of turn, but we may remove a black card from our hand with CMC X from our hand rather than play the spell's mana cost, and then we can give a creature -X. This is very solid, very nice removal spell. We can often get it out of nowhere and remove a threat or a combo piece because it's 0 mana. Very solid card, definitely worth the include. Next up, we've got Force of Despair, 3 mana instant that destroys all creatures that enter the battlefield this turn. This is already nice, but the fact that it says if it's not our turn, we may exile a black card from our hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost is so insane. This can just come out of nowhere, completely destroy an enemy's plans, catch them off guard, and essentially wipe that player out of the game. This is such a solid card and definitely worth the include in this deck. I reckon Force of Despair is really underrated, and I reckon it's worth the include in pretty much any EDH deck that can run it. Next up, we have Toxic Deluge. It's kind of interaction, I guess. 3 mana is an additional cost to cast it, pay X life, and then all creatures get -X until end of turn. Let's say your enemy's got lots of small creatures, we can just do X as like free, wipe them all out, or we can just use this as an all-out board wipe. Often comes out in our favour, very solid card. Damnation. 4 mana board wipe, destroys all creatures, very solid, definitely worth the include. Nice to reset if we've been knocked back and enemies are getting out of hand. Snuff Out, 4 mana instant, destroys target non-black creature and it can't be regenerated, but if we control a swamp, we may pay 4 life rather than paying the spell's mana cost. This is really nice, once again, catches your enemies off guard, removes a threat, stops them from comboing off, just an all-round great card. Unmask, 4 mana sorcery, target player reveals his or her hand, you choose a non-link card from it, that player discards that card, or we can exile a black card from a hand rather than play unmasked mana cost, and so on turn 1, we can just exile a black card, play this, completely reveal an opponent's plan, and remove their best card. Very solid card. And then Yahenni's Expertise. 4 mana sorcery, all creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn, and we may cast a card with CMC 3 or less from our hand without paying its mana cost. This is really nice, board wipes most threats, Yawgmoth will survive this as well, that's very viable, and we also get a cast a card with CMC 3 or less from our hand without paying its mana cost, so this can often essentially only cost us 1 mana. Very nice card. Crumbling Ashes, 2 mana enchantment. At the beginning of our upkeep, we may destroy target creature with a -1/-1 counter on it. So with Yawgmoth, we can put counters on things. We often, with this, it just immediately kills anything, even with just 1 counter on it. This is really nice. Put counters on a few things, destroy it, destroy it, destroy it. Very solid card, generates the -1/-1 counters into insane value, and essentially just puts a death mark on any creature we put a -1/-1 counter on. Next up we have Contamination. This card is a bit toxic to play, but I think it's worth the include. 3 mana enchantment. During our upkeep, sacrifice a creature, or we have to sacrifice Contamination. But then it says whenever a land is tapped for mana, it produces black instead of its normal type and amount. So this isn't going to affect us in any way. It essentially often just completely shuts down all their opponents and says their lands can only produce colourless mana. This will give us multiple turns to just go creature, combo, win. We do have to sack creatures off to it, which is a bit annoying, but even if this just sticks around for 1 table rotation, shutting down our opponents, it's still very solid. Amazing card. Like I said, it does get your enemies raging sometimes, but it is worth the include. Next up we have Grave Pact. 4 mana enchantment. Whenever a creature we control is put into the graveyard from battlefield, each other player sacrifices a creature. Very solid. With all our creature sacrifice, it just wipes our opponent's boards. And we're also running Dictate of Erebos, which does the same thing, but for 1 extra mana, it gains Flash. This is, yeah, like I said, these are very nice. We can essentially sack a creature to make each opponent sack a creature with Yawgmoth, and we can draw cards, put -1/-1 counters and stuff. These just generate a ton of value. Now we're on to Section 4, Utility and Ramp. Now we have quite a bit of utility in this deck. This helps us, things like Necroskitter gets value out of -1/-1 counters, Archfiend of Ifnir board wipes our opponents, and yeah, there's actually a lot of utility, just insane value cards that go into same with Yawgmoth and other cards. So, let's get into the section. First up we have Leadenmur, 2 mana 1/1, taps for black, lets us get into Yawgmoth a turn earlier and combo off earlier, very solid card. Next up we're running Necroskitter, 3 mana 1/4 with Wither, very nice, and whenever a creature an opponent controls with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, you may return that card onto the battlefield under your control. This is so powerful, can let us have insane engine turns with Yawgmoth, and we just put a counter on something, then that's guaranteed to come back to us eventually. Necroskitter is one of the best cards in this deck. So solid. This is like #1 include. I didn't know about this when making my original list, but oh my gosh, this card is so strong. You need to put it in. Next up we have Cryptghast, 4 mana, doubles all our mana essentially, very solid, will normally immediately let us combo off the next turn, and it has Exhort to help drain our opponents of a little bit of life and help us get our life total back up high if it is beginning to drop low. Archfiend of Ithnia, 5 mana 5/4, flying. Whenever we cycle or discard a card, so that's with Yawgmoth's 2 mana discard a card proliferate, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. So with this, we can pay 2 mana, discard a card, put a -1/-1 counter on all our opponent's creatures, and then proliferate them. This is with Yawgmoth's bottom ability. This plus Yawgmoth proliferate is just one-sided ball bite for your opponent. So insane. And this card also is cycling to help sift it out of our hand if we don't need it. Definitely worth the include. Dark Ritual, 1 mana, adds us triple black, lets us combo off a turn earlier, or multiple turns earlier, sometimes even straight away. Super solid card, definitely worth the include. Next up we have Cabal Ritual, essentially Dark Ritual, but can sometimes produce us 3 mana profit rather than 2, but otherwise just produces us 1, lets us combo off earlier, very solid card. Next up we're running Mana Crypt, 0 mana, taps for double colourless, can cost us a bit of life, but just such an insane mana rock, lets us get it like 2 or 3 turns ahead in the game, so solid. Soul Ring, essentially a Mana Crypt but only costs 1, auto include in any deck, very good in this, lets us combo off earlier, definitely worth the include. Charcoal Diamond, 2 mana Mana Rock, ramps us into our pieces earlier, helps us win the game earlier, nice Mana Rock. Jet Medallion makes all our spells cost 1 less, very solid, once again helps us ramp into our things, combo off earlier, great card. And Fort Vessel, 2 mana, makes us have no maximum hand size, so all the card draw of Yawgmoth doesn't affect us, and once again it ramps us for a mana, which is very solid, lets us get into our combo and everything a turn earlier. And yeah, that completes the main list. Now we're on to the final section, lands. So in the lands, I suggest running Barrenmoor. Nice land, can cycle away when we don't need it. Cabal Coffers, if we have a lot of swamps, this can produce a ton of mana, let us combo off earlier. Castle Lochthwain, just a nice upgraded swamp kind of that can also draw us cards later in game if we've ran out of cards. Cavern of Souls can make Yawgmoth uncounterable, this can be very viable. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, it can produce us a ton of mana if we have high devotion, which is really nice. Reliquary Tower, which makes us have no maximum hand size, very nice, and 30 swamps. And with that, that completes the list, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions for the deck, I would love to hear it. I'm working on this deck. It's probably my main commander deck now. I love playing it. Yeah, I so much enjoy the deck. Puts up a fight against any CEDH decks, even the highest level. Often beats them, will destroy most casual decks if you're looking to just walk into your casual play group, bring out this new deck and then just destroy them all. Yeah, if you want to see more from me, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.